The champagne flute shattered against the polished oak floor of the old Whitaker barn, its shards scattering like the fragile illusions of a life Aubrey had clung to for years. "Clara," she whispered into the empty air, the name tasting like salt and magnolia petals on her tongue, as the distant laughter from the engagement party swelled like a mocking tide. In that instant, behind the velvet stage curtain where fairy lights tangled like forgotten promises, Aubrey's world fractured. Harlan, Clara's flawless fiancé, pressed against the shadowed wall, his mouth desperate on Beckett's, Clara's own brother, in a kiss that reeked of hidden hungers and the rot of family lies. Aubrey froze, her breath caught in the thick Georgia humidity that clung to her skin like a second skin of regret. She had missed the party, delayed by a flat tire on the winding backroads from her rented cabin in the marshes, the kind of delay that felt fated now, cruel in its precision. The Whitaker barn loomed on the edge of Savannah's frayed aristocracy, a relic of antebellum grandeur repurposed for events that masked the town's deeper fractures. Old money mingling with new pretense, whispers of scandal buried under layers of sweet tea and southern drawl. Clara Beaumont, her best friend since they were barefoot girls chasing fireflies in the salt marshes, was inside, radiant in white lace, toasting a future that Aubrey knew was built on sand. She had driven all night from the outskirts, her old Ford pickup rattling over potholes that mirrored the tremors in her chest. Clara's texts had piled up like unanswered prayers. "Where are you? Everyone's asking. Don't miss this." Aubrey's thumbs had hovered over replies she couldn't send, words too heavy with the truth they both pretended to ignore. Their friendship had always been a delicate architecture, laced with touches that lingered too long, glances that held the weight of unspoken confessions. In the summers of their youth, under the Spanish moss-draped oaks of Forsyth Park, they had shared secrets that blurred the lines between sisterly affection and something fiercer, more forbidden. But Clara's family, the Beaumonts with their sprawling plantation house and lineage tracing back to Cotton Kings, demanded conformity. A woman like Clara, poised pedigree, didn't love like that. Not in Savannah, where the church steeples pierced the sky like accusatory fingers and gossip flowed freer than the Savannah River. Aubrey slipped through the side door, the scent of jasmine and grilled peaches assaulting her senses, a sensory overload that made her head spin. She was late, disheveled in her simple sundress, the one Clara had once called her marsh witch armor. Guests milled about in clusters, their laughter a brittle veneer over the undercurrents of envy and judgment. The Beaumonts occupied the apex of Savannah's social pyramid, their events a ritual of exclusion wrapped in hospitality. Aubrey, daughter of a shrimper who drank himself into early graves, had always been the outsider, tolerated for Clara's sake. Tonight that tolerance felt like a noose. She scanned the crowd for Clara, her heart a drumbeat of anticipation laced with dread. There she was on the makeshift stage, her auburn hair catching the golden hour light like burnished copper, her smile a masterpiece of practiced grace as she raised her glass beside Harlan Whitaker. Harlan, with his easy charm and family fortune from coastal real estate, was the perfect match, tall, broad-shouldered, the kind of man who made Savannah's matrons sigh with relief. Their engagement had been announced in the society pages, a union that promised to solidify alliances between old bloodlines. Aubrey forced a smile, waving from the shadows, but Clara's eyes found hers across the room, and in that flicker Aubrey saw it. The plea, the apology, the love they had buried under layers of denial. Slipping away to compose herself, Aubrey wandered toward the back of the barn, where the stage's rear curtain billowed like a sigh in the evening breeze. The party noise faded to a hum, replaced by the chorus of crickets from the adjacent fields. She needed air, needed to steel herself before facing the toasts that would seal Clara's fate. That's when she heard it. A low murmur, urgent and intimate, pulling her like a riptide toward the hidden alcove. She parted the curtain just enough, her pulse thundering in her ears. Harlan's hand cupped the back of Beckett's neck, fingers threading through dark curls that mirrored Clara's own. Beckett, the golden boy of the Beaumonts, the one who had fled to Atlanta for business opportunities, that everyone knew were a polite fiction for his own unspoken truths. Their kiss was no tentative exploration. It was a collision born of years of stolen moments in family closets, both literal and metaphorical. Harlan pulled back first, his forehead resting against Beckett's, whispering words Aubrey couldn't catch but felt in her bones. promises laced with desperation, the kind that came from men trapped in cages of their own making. Betrayal hit Aubrey like a rogue wave, not just for Clara, but for the fragile web of deceptions that had ensnared them all. She stumbled back, her heel catching on a loose board, the sound swallowed by the applause surging from the front. Harlan's eyes snapped toward the noise, but Aubrey was already melting into the dusk, her mind a whirlwind of fractured loyalties. Clara deserved better than this farce, better than a fiancé who sought solace in her brother's arms, better than the suffocating expectations that had driven her to this altar of pretense. She found refuge in the old Whitaker carriage house, a forgotten annex overgrown with wisteria, its walls echoing with the ghosts of debutante balls long past. Sinking onto a dusty bench, Aubrey pulled out her phone, the screen blurring through unshed tears. A message from Clara. "Finally here? Come find me. I need you." The words twisted like a knife, reminding her of the nights they had spent in Clara's attic room, whispering dreams under the slanted ceiling, their hands brushing in the dark until the air crackled with what they dared not name. Their story had begun innocently enough, two girls from adjacent worlds colliding at Savannah Country Day School. Clara, with her effortless poise and Beaumont legacy, had chosen Aubrey as her shadow, drawn to the wildness in the girl who spoke of marsh legends and collected sea glass like talismans. By high school, those afternoons in the Beaumont garden had evolved into something electric. Shared cigarettes behind the azaleas, Clara's head on Aubrey's shoulder during thunderstorms, confessions that danced around the edges of truth. "You're my anchor," Clara had said once, her voice soft as river mist, and Aubrey had believed it, even as the world conspired to drag them apart. College had scattered them, Clara to Vanderbilt for Southern literature, Aubrey to a state school on a scholarship, scraping by with odd jobs in Charleston. But they reunited every summer, the pull between them a gravitational force neither could resist. It was during one such visit 3 years ago that the dam broke. A humid July night, after too much bourbon at a Tybee Island bonfire, Clara had kissed her under the pier, salt water lapping at their feet. "This is us," Clara had murmured, her lips tasting of smoke and sea. For a stolen season it was, nights in Aubrey's cabin, days pretending normalcy. But the Beaumont's shadow loomed large. Clara's mother, Evelyn, with her pearl necklaces and iron will, had begun introducing suitable suitors, her eyes sharpening whenever Aubrey appeared. Harlan had entered like a savior, or so Clara claimed, charming, connected, a man who could provide the life her family demanded. "It's practical," Clara had told Aubrey over coffee in a Forsyth Park cafe, her voice steady but her hands trembling. "We can still have what we have in secret." Aubrey had nodded, swallowing the bitterness, because loving Clara meant enduring the half-measures, the stolen hours that left her hollow. Now, with the image of Harlan and Beckett seared into her mind, Aubrey questioned everything. Was this the freedom Clara sought or just another chain? She rose, brushing dust from her dress, determination hardening in her chest like marsh clay. The party was winding down, guests drifting toward their Lincolns and Cadillacs, but Aubrey couldn't leave it like this. She had to tell Clara, had to shatter the illusion before it claimed them both. Weaving through the thinning crowd, she caught Clara mid-conversation with her mother, Evelyn's hand possessive on her daughter's arm. "Aubrey!" Clara's face lit up, genuine relief breaking through the mask. She excused herself, pulling Aubrey into a shadowed corner near the punch bowl, the air thick with the scent of bourbon and blooming gardenias. "You made it," Clara breathed, her fingers brushing Aubrey's wrist, a touch that sent sparks through the numbness. Up close, the strain showed, faint shadows under her eyes, the way her smile didn't quite reach them. "I thought you'd bailed," Harlan was asking. Aubrey's throat tightened. "Clara, there's something." "Not here," Clara interrupted, glancing over her shoulder. "Later. Meet me at the river house after? Like old times." The river house, their sanctuary on the outskirts, a crumbling boathouse where the Ogeechee whispered secrets. Aubrey nodded, the weight of unspoken words pressing down. As Clara slipped away to pose for photos with Harlan, Aubrey watched, her heart a battlefield. The kiss replayed in her mind, not as revulsion, but as a mirror to their own hidden truths. Harlan and Beckett, bound by the same societal noose, seeking breath in the dark. It humanized them even as it gutted her. The drive to the river house was a blur of Spanish moss and firefly-laced roads, the pickup's headlights carving tunnels through the night. Aubrey arrived first, the boathouse's weathered door creaking open to reveal the familiar space. Faded quilts on the floor, shelves of dog-eared paperbacks, the faint echo of laughter from summers past. She lit a lantern, its golden glow dancing on the walls like fireflies trapped in amber, and waited, her mind churning through scenarios. Tell Clara everything? Or let the wedding proceed, preserving the fragile peace? Headlights pierced the darkness and Clara's silhouette emerged, still in her engagement gown, the lace ethereal in the moonlight. She moved with purpose, kicking off her heels, the vulnerability in her posture a silent surrender. I hate it, Aubrey. All of it. The toast, the expectations. It's like drowning in silk. Aubrey pulled her into an embrace, the scent of Clara's perfume, jasmine and vanilla, flooding her with memories. Then don't do it. We could leave. Go north to Vermont or somewhere the air doesn't choke you. Clara laughed, a sound brittle as autumn leaves. And what? Live in some cabin? Writing poetry while my family disowns me? Harlan's safe. He understands. Boundaries. Her eyes searched Aubrey's, pleading for absolution. The truth clawed at Aubrey's chest. Clara, I saw something tonight. Behind the stage. Harlan and Beckett, they were kissing. The words hung in the air, heavy as humidity before a storm. Clara's face drained of color, her body going rigid in Aubrey's arms. What did you say? Aubrey repeated it softer this time, watching the pieces shatter in Clara's eyes. Denial flickered first. You're mistaken, the light was bad. Then anger hot and defensive. Even if. It's not your place. This is my life, Aubrey. My choices. Your choices. Aubrey's voice rose, the dam breaking. This isn't choice. It's survival. For all of us. Harlan's lying to you, to himself, and Beckett's caught in the crossfire. Just like you and me, pretending to fit into boxes that weren't made for us. Clara pulled away, pacing the creaky floorboards, her gown trailing like a ghost. You think I don't know that? Every day, I wake up hating the mirror because it shows a coward. But leaving means losing everything. My home, my name, the illusion that keeps Mama from falling apart after Daddy died. Harlan's part of that illusion. He's with Beckett. Then at least it's not me he's pretending with. The confession sliced deep. A raw admission of the chasm between them. Aubrey reached for her, but Clara flinched. Don't. You always do this, make it sound so simple. Run away with you, be free. But freedom for us isn't some postcard from Oregon. It's exile. Whispers in church pews, jobs lost, friends who cross the street. Tears welled in Aubrey's eyes, mirroring Clara's. I'd take exile over this half-life. Over watching you marry a man who kisses your brother, while you toast your future. Clara sank to the quilts, her shoulders shaking. Aubrey joined her, the space between them shrinking to breaths and regrets. In the lantern's glow they talked through the night, unpacking the layers of pain, the societal scripts that had scripted their silences. Clara admitted the engagement was a shield. Harlan a willing accomplice in mutual deception. Beckett had confessed to her months ago, his own secret unraveling the family thread. We're all fractured, Clara whispered, pretending to hold the pieces. As dawn crept over the Ogeechee, painting the water gold, a tentative peace settled. Clara leaned into Aubrey, their foreheads touching, the kiss that followed soft as forgiveness. I can't call it off yet, she murmured. But I won't go through with it. Not like this. Aubrey held her, the river's murmur a lullaby of possibility. For the first time the future felt less like a cage and more like a horizon. Vast, uncertain, but theirs to claim. The morning light filtered through the boathouse slats like hesitant fingers, illuminating the tangle of limbs and whispered vows that had carried them through the night. Aubrey woke first, Clara's head pillowed on her chest, the rise and fall of her breathing a rhythm that synced with the gentle lap of the river against the pilings. For a moment the world outside ceased to exist. No Beaumont legacies, no Whittaker fortunes, just the quiet intimacy of two women reclaiming stolen time. Aubrey traced idle patterns on Clara's arm, marveling at the vulnerability etched in her sleeping face. the faint lines of worry that youth and privilege hadn't fully erased. But reality intruded with the buzz of Clara's phone on the shelf, insistent as a hornet. Text from Evelyn. "Where are you?" Harlan's worried. "Breakfast at the house." Clara stirred, groaning as she silenced it, her eyes fluttering open to meet Aubrey's. "It's starting already." "The pool." Aubrey propped herself on an elbow, brushing a curl from Clara's forehead. "Then resist. One day at a time. Start with the truth about Harlan." Clara sat up, wrapping the quilt around her shoulders like armor, her gaze drifting to the river. "Beckett knows I know. We had that talk last fall after Harlan proposed. He begged me to keep it quiet for all our sakes. Said it was a phase that Harlan would come around. But phases don't last 8 years. The revelation hung between them, thickening the air. Aubrey had always seen Beckett as the untouchable brother, the one who charmed debutantes while hiding behind a facade of casual conquests. To learn his secret mirrored their own too closely, a reflection of the town's toxic alchemy, turning love into shame, desire into deceit. "Does Harlan love him?" Aubrey asked, the question soft but probing. Clara nodded, a sad smile ghosting her lips. "More than he loves the idea of me, I think. It's why the engagement works in a twisted way. We're all complicit. Me playing the blushing bride, him the dutiful groom, Beckett the invisible thread." Aubrey's chest ached with the symmetry of their entrapment. In Savannah, where class lines were drawn sharper than magnolia thorns, deviation from the script invited ruin. The Beaumonts, perched on their pedestal of faded glory, couldn't afford another scandal after Mr. Beaumont's gambling debts had nearly toppled the empire. Evelyn's iron grip on tradition was her bulwark against grief, and Clara bore the brunt, her queerness a luxury her lineage deemed unaffordable. They dressed in silence, the boathouse's musty air clinging to their skin as they emerged into the dawn. Clara's gown from the night before was rumpled, a stark contrast to the poised woman Savannah expected. "Drive me back," she asked, her voice laced with reluctance. Aubrey agreed, the pickup's engine rumbling to life like a reluctant confession. The road to the Beaumont estate wound through live oak alleys, their branches arching like cathedral vaults, dappled sunlight playing over fields where cotton ghosts lingered in the soil. Aubrey glanced at Clara, who stared out the window, fingers twisting her engagement ring. A sapphire the size of a robin's egg, symbol of chains disguised as jewels. "What will you say?" Aubrey ventured. "That I needed space. A walk by the river to clear my head." Clara's tone was rehearsed, but her eyes betrayed the storm. "And you?" "Back to your cabin, pretending last night didn't happen." Aubrey gripped the wheel tighter. "Not pretending. Planning. We need more than river house escapes. A real conversation with your family, with Harlan. Or we walk away together." Clara's laugh was hollow. "Walk away to what?" "My trust fund's tied up until marriage or 35. Yours is. Shrimping tales and freelance editing gigs. Charming but not exactly stable." The class chasm yawned between them, a divide Aubrey had long navigated with quiet resentment. Her world was the working docks of Thunderbolt, where fathers like hers mended nets at dawn and daughters learned early that love didn't pay bills. Clara's was garden parties and legacy trusts, where emotions were commodities traded for status. Yet in the spaces between they had forged something pure, untainted by ledgers. At the estate gates, wrought iron scrolled with the Beaumont crest, Clara leaned over, pressing a kiss to Aubrey's cheek, lingering, promising. "Tonight. The old oak. I'll come." Aubrey watched her go, the gravel crunching under Clara's bare feet, until the mansion swallowed her whole. The drive back to her cabin was solitary, the radio tuned to low static, her mind replaying the night's fractures. She needed to ground herself to remember why she fought. The cabin, a weathered A-frame on the marsh edge near Darien, was her refuge. Walls lined with shelves of folklore books, a desk cluttered with half-finished stories of women who defied the tide. She spent the day writing, words pouring out like catharsis, tales of low-country sirens who lured sailors not to death but to freedom. But focus eluded her, the pen faltering as memories intruded, of Clara's laughter echoing in these rooms, her body warm against Aubrey's in the hammock, the stars above indifferent witnesses. By afternoon, restlessness drove her to the porch, where the marsh stretched like a living tapestry, egrets stalking through cordgrass, the air alive with brine and possibility. A call from her mother interrupted the reverie, voice crackling over the line from her trailer in Brunswick. Heard about the party. Clara's big night. You go. Aubrey hedged, the lie bitter. Yeah, ma. It was eventful. Her mother's chuckle was knowing, laced with the wisdom of a woman who had buried 2 husbands in one dream. That girl's trouble, Aubrey. Always has been. Pulls you in like the tide, spits you out on the flats. Don't let her drown you. The advice landed like truth serum, forcing Aubrey to confront the pattern. Years of orbiting Clara's gravity, sacrificing pieces of herself for glimpses of wholeness. But this time felt different. The kiss with Harlan and Beckett a catalyst, exposing the rot beneath the glamour. She ended the call with promises to visit, then texted an old friend from college, Lena, now a barista in Portland with a life unyoked from Southern expectations. Ever regret leaving? The reply came swift. Only that I didn't sooner. Come west. Room for one more dreamer. The invitation stirred something restless, a whisper of escape that clashed with her roots. Savannah's pull was magnetic, its beauty laced with barbs, the rivers that cradled history's sins, the squares where equality's march had been slow and bloody. Aubrey had grown up queer in a town that preached love but practiced exclusion. Her first crush on a gym teacher ending in whispers that followed her through graduation. Clara had been her salvation, but also her anchor to the shallows. As evening fell, painting the sky in bruised purples, Aubrey drove to the old oak on the estate's fringe, a sentinel tree whose roots knotted the earth like veins. She arrived early, spreading a blanket under its canopy, a thermos of coffee steaming in the cooling air. The wait stretched, minutes bleeding into doubt. Had Clara balked? Or worse, confessed to Harlan, unraveling the fragile truce? Headlights flickered through the underbrush, not Clara's sleek sedan, but a truck, Beckett's, mud-splattered from backroad hunts. He emerged, broad-shouldered in flannel, his face a map of unease. Aubrey, Clara said you'd be here. We need to talk. She tensed, gesturing him to sit, the oak shade enveloping them like complicity. About last night? I wasn't spying. Just there. Beckett ran a hand through his curls, exhaling slow. Doesn't matter. It's out now. Harlan's a wreck, paced all morning, then bolted to his folks' place in Bluffton. Clara's inside, stonewalling Mama. The vulnerability in his voice disarmed her. Beckett, always the charmer, now stripped bare. How long? Aubrey asked. Since college. Frat party in Athens, stupid, drunk, but it stuck. Harlan's from money that demands heirs. Closets deeper than the river. We thought the engagement would buy time, let Clara play her part while we figured ours. Aubrey nodded, the pieces slotting into a mosaic of mutual survival. And Clara? She loves him like a brother, maybe more. But not like that. Beckett's eyes met hers, sharp with understanding. She loves you. Always has. Saw it when we were kids, you two against the world. That's why this hurts. We're dragging her down with our secrets. The admission bridged the gap between them, siblings in deception. Aubrey shared fragments of her own ache, the years of sidelined longing, the fear that freedom meant forsaking home. Beckett listened, his silence a rare gift, until Clara's voice called from the tree line, breaking the spell. She approached warily, Harlan trailing behind, his face ashen, suit rumpled from the drive. The 4 of them under the oak formed a tableau of reckoning, the air charged with the ozone of impending storm. Clara's eyes darted between them, settling on Aubrey with desperate anchor. I told him. Everything. Harlan stepped forward, voice rough. I never meant to hurt her. Any of you. It's just this town. It twists you. The conversation unfolded like an unraveling tapestry. Confessions spilling in the twilight, tears mingling with tentative laughter. Harlan spoke of his father's expectations, the real estate empire built on marriages of convenience. Beckett admitted the guilt that had festered, turning love into poison. Clara, voice steadying, laid bare her terror of becoming her mother, trapped in a loveless union, armor against the world's cruelty. Aubrey listened, her hand finding Clara's in the grass, the touch a lifeline. For the first time, the weight distributed, no longer solitary. As stars pricked the sky, Harlan proposed a pact. Call off the engagement publicly, frame it as mutual growth by time to breathe. No more hiding, he said, glancing at Beckett with raw hope. Clara squeezed Aubrey's hand, the gesture a vow. And us? No more half measures. The oak whispered above, ancient witness to their fragile alliance. Dawn would bring scrutiny, but in that circle under the southern stars they glimpsed liberation, not as escape but as collective defiance. The fallout from the Oak Grove pact rippled through Savannah like a stone skipped across the Ogeechee, each concentric wave stirring sediment long settled. By noon the next day, Evelyn Beaumont had summoned a family council in the plantation's sunroom, its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the manicured lawns like a stage set for confrontation. Crystal vases of white lilies perfumed the air, their innocence mocking the tension coiled in the room. Clara sat ramrod straight on the chintz sofa, Harlan beside her in a gesture of solidarity that blurred old lines, while Beckett lounged against the mantel, feigning nonchalance. Aubrey, invited as the close friend, but feeling like an intruder, perched on an ottoman, her marsh-worn boots out of place amid the Persian rugs. Evelyn entered like a dowager queen, pearls clicking softly, her silver-streaked hair impeccable despite the crisis. "I've fielded 3 calls from the ladies' auxiliary already. Whispers of cold feet, irreconcilable differences. Explain yourselves." Clara spoke first, her voice a careful blend of resolve and deference. "Mama, Harlan and we've realized we're better as friends. The engagement was rushed, pressured by the season. We want to part amicably, no scandal." Evelyn's gaze sharpened, flicking to Harlan, then Beckett, as if scenting the undercurrent. "Amicably? In this town? Your father built bridges with the Whitakers, Clara. This union was more than sentiment. It was strategy." Harlan cleared his throat, his drawl polished but strained. "Mrs. Beaumont, with respect, my family's supportive. We'll issue a joint statement, host a casual brunch to smooth edges. No bridges burned." But Evelyn's eyes lingered on Beckett, the unspoken accusation hanging like humidity. She had always known, Aubrey suspected. Mothers in Savannah developed instincts sharper than gators for family frailties. "And you, Beckett? Silent as a confessor. This wouldn't have anything to do with distractions." Beckett met her stare, chin lifting. "Mama, it's not about me. It's about letting Clara choose her path." The room held its breath, Evelyn's composure cracking like fine china under pressure. She sank into an armchair, fingers steepled. "Choose. As if choices here don't echo for generations. Your grandmother whispered about such things. Unions dissolved, reputations tarnished. We endure, darlings. We marry well, produce heirs, and bury the rest." Clara reached for her mother's hand, the gesture bridging years of quiet rebellion. "That's the endurance I can't stomach anymore. Hiding, pretending. I love this family, but not at the cost of my soul." Evelyn's facade wavered, eyes glistening with the ghosts of her own concessions. The marriage to Mr. Beaumont, a merger of estates, her poetry dreams shelved for social columns. In that vulnerability, Aubrey saw the woman beneath the armor, a daughter of the same unyielding soil. "And what path, Clara?" "The one with her." Evelyn nodded toward Aubrey, the first acknowledgement of the truth hovering between them. Clara didn't flinch. "Yes. With Aubrey. It's been there since we were girls, Mama. Denying it dishonors us all." Silence stretched, broken only by the tick of the grandfather clock in the hall. Evelyn rose, smoothing her skirt, composure reclaimed. "Then prove it withstands scrutiny. No hasty flights to godforsaken marshes. Stay, face the town. Or its exile in truth." The challenge landed like a gauntlet, Evelyn sweeping out, leaving the air charged with uneasy victory. Harlan exhaled, clapping Beckett's shoulder in a touch that spoke volumes. "She's bluffing. Halfway at least." Outside, under the portico, Aubrey pulled Clara aside, the wisteria vines curtaining their privacy. "That was brave. Terrifying but brave." Clara's smile was weary, triumphant. "Your turn next. Mama's radar's on you now." The days blurred into a tense interlude, the cancelled engagement rippling through Savannah's vine of gossip. The society pages ran a bland notice. mutual decision to remain friends. But whispers festered in beauty parlors and yacht clubs. Infidelity, hidden vices, the Beaumont curse resurfacing. Aubrey returned to her cabin, the isolation a balm and a burden, her freelance edits for a Charleston publisher piling up unanswered. She poured her unrest into stories, crafting narratives of women who mended nets not just of rope, but of resolve. Queer heroines navigating low-country lore with unapologetic hearts. Clara texted updates. Evelyn's passive resistance. Extra place settings at dinner. Pointed questions about future plans. Harlan and Beckett retreated to Bluffton, their bond no longer subterranean, though Harlan confided over beer at a dive bar that his father's reaction had been a frosty, handle it discreetly. Aubrey met Lena's offer with a visit to Thunderbolt Docks, watching her mother's hands, callous from decades of filleting, and wondering if roots could transplant without withering. One evening as fireflies scripted the marsh in Morse code, Clara arrived unannounced, her sedan crunching shells in the drive. She carried a picnic basket, fried green tomatoes, pecan pie, the comforts of home weaponized as truce. They ate on the porch swing, the swings creak a metronome to their unfolding ease. "Mama asked about you today," Clara said, popping a tomato slice. Subtly. Aubrey's family still in the shrimping trade. Translation. Can she provide? Aubrey chuckled, the sound easing the knot in her chest. Old money snobbery. My provision stories, Clara. And this. She gestured to the marsh, its expanse a canvas of resilience. Herons standing sentinel, tides carving without apology. Clara's eyes softened, hand finding Aubrey's. It's enough. More than enough. The kiss that followed was unhurried. The marsh air wrapping them in benediction. Bodies aligning with the familiarity of long-denied lovers. They moved inside, the cabin's lamplight casting shadows that danced like liberated spirits, clothes shedding like old skins. In the tangle of sheets, Clara's touches mapped territories of trust, whispers weaving promises against the night's quiet. I choose this, she breathed, fingers tracing Aubrey's collarbone. Us. Dawn found them entwined, the world intruding via a knock at the door. Evelyn uninvited, her Lincoln idling in the drive. Clara bolted upright, panic flashing, but Aubrey pressed a steadying hand. Face it together. They dressed hastily, Evelyn entering with the air of a general surveying battle lines. Her eyes swept the cabin, bookshelves groaning with volumes on Southern Gothic, the desk's chaos of manuscripts, lingering on the rumpled bed. I brought coffee. And questions. They sat at the scarred pine table, steam rising from bone china like fragile veils. Evelyn's interrogation was surgical. Aubrey's prospects, her intentions. The scandal's shadow on Clara's future. Love's a river, dear, she said, voice laced with unexpected poetry. Beautiful but treacherous. I've navigated it, lost parts of myself. Don't let it claim you whole. Aubrey met her gaze, unflinching. Mrs. Beaumont, I've lost enough to pretense. Clara's not a part to claim, she's the current. I'll navigate with her, not against. Evelyn sipped, appraising. Bold words from a marsh girl. But roots matter. Yours are humble, hers entangled. Clara interjected, fierce. Then help us untangle, Mama. Not cut. The older woman's sigh carried the weight of concessions. Perhaps. A trial 6 months. Live your truth here in the light. If it holds, I'll stand witness at whatever altar you choose. It wasn't absolution, but a foothold. Evelyn departed with a nod to Aubrey. Write something worth reading. Leaving them breathless in her wake. Clara collapsed against Aubrey, laughter bubbling through tears. She came. To us. The trial began that week, a deliberate unveiling. Clara moved a suitcase to the cabin, her presence transforming the space. Silk scarves on hooks, novels by Carson McCullers on shelves. They ventured into town hand in hand, first to the farmer's market, where stares prickled like nettles but smiles from old acquaintances softened the edges. At the pirate's house over she-crab soup, a table of Evelyn's friends offered cautious toasts, their curiosity masked as concern. But resistance lurked in shadows. Harlan called, voice tight. His father's board pressuring a clean break. Whispers linking the split to unnatural alliances. Beckett, emboldened, planned a move to Atlanta with Harlan. their future a tentative blueprint of openness. Aubrey's mother visited, her blunt approval. Treat her right or I'll net you myself. A bomb against class barbs. As summer deepened, so did their rhythm. Mornings riding side by side. Afternoons kayaking the marshes. Evenings under stars where Clara read poetry aloud, her voice weaving spells. Intimacy bloomed unhurried. Lazy Sundays in bed. Explorations that charted emotional depths as much as physical. Yet doubts whispered. A cancelled reading gig for Aubrey, tied to family associations. Clara's hesitation at a debutante luncheon, the pull of legacy. One stormy afternoon, as thunder rolled over the salt flats, conflict crested. Clara returned from a Beaumont obligation, face drawn, clutching an invitation. Evelyn's bid for reconciliation. A harvest ball requiring discretion. Just one night, Clara pleaded. For peace. Aubrey's hurt flared raw. Discretion? That's the cage we escaped. Or is it? The argument spilled like rain. Clara defending family fractures. Aubrey accusing erasure. I'm not hiding anymore, Aubrey said, voice breaking. Not for you, not for peace. Clara's tears mingled with the downpour outside. It's not hiding. It's bridging. I need both worlds. The rift lingered, mended in fits. Apologies over bourbon. Reaffirmations in the dark. But it exposed the trial's fragility, society's tendrils ever-reaching. As autumn leaves turned the oaks to flame, a letter arrived from Lena. An offer for Aubrey to guest edit, a queer-lit anthology in Portland. Temptation tugged. A vision of wider waters. She showed Clara, watching her face for cracks. Go, Clara said after a beat. If it's us, distance tests nothing. The decision hung. A crossroads under the gathering chill. In the cabin's glow, Aubrey penned the acceptance, heart swelling with the audacity of choice. Not exile but expansion. Autumn's chill seeped into the lowcountry like a reluctant guest, frosting the marsh edges and turning the live oaks into skeletal sentinels against gunmetal skies. Aubrey's acceptance letter to Portland burned a hole in her desk drawer. A talisman of possibility that both thrilled and terrified. The anthology gig promised 3 months in the Pacific Northwest, guest editor for a collection of emerging queer voices. A chance to amplify stories like hers amid Portland's rainy embrace of eccentricity. But leaving meant testing the Oak Grove Pack's tensile strength, stretching the thread between cabin and plantation to its frayed limits. Clara took the news with outward grace, helping pack books into crates, her hands steady as she labeled them with Sharpie precision. You'll thrive there, she said over dinner one night, shrimp étouffée steaming between them. Stories need tellers like you. Raw, unapologetic. Aubrey searched her eyes for the undercurrent, the fear masked as support. And us? 3 months isn't exile, but it's a pause. Clara's fork paused midair. The clink against porcelain echoing. Pauses build longing. We'll visit Thanksgiving maybe. Mama's thawing. She even asked for one of your manuscripts. The mention of Evelyn softened Aubrey. A reminder of bridges half-built. Since the Sunroom Summit, the matriarch had extended olive branches, invitations to Sunday suppers, a subscription to the anthology's parent journal. It was progress, glacial but genuine, born of a widow's reckoning with solitude. Evelyn had confided once, over sherry in the garden, of her own youthful flirtation with a painter in Charleston, a woman with hands like lightning, cut short by duty's blade. Regret's a slow poison, she'd said, eyes distant. Don't sip it. Yet progress didn't erase the town's underbelly. Gossip evolved from engagement whispers to speculative scrutiny. Clara and Aubrey sighted at the city market, hands brushing over okra bins. Harlan and Beckett's Bluffton weekends fueling bar talk of bachelor retreats. A scathing note arrived at the Beaumont mailbox. Anonymous, typed on plain stock. Sodom's daughters tarnished the South. Repent or relocate. Evelyn burned it in the fireplace, ashes scattering like warnings, but the chill lingered. Aubrey's departure loomed mid-November, the cabin emptying like a molting shell. She drove to Thunderbolt for a farewell with her mother. The trailer park's chain-link fences rattling in the wind off-street Simon's sound. Marjorie Harlan, still Harlan after 2 marriages, a name reclaimed like battle armor, greeted her with a bear hug, flour dusted from biscuit dough. Portland, huh? Land of hipsters and rain. Better pack your galoshes and grit. Over coffee black as marsh mud, Marjorie dispensed wisdom honed on docs and divorces. That Beaumont girl's got thorns, Aubrey. Pretty ones, but they'll draw blood if you let 'em. Love ain't ownership, it's weather. Sometimes stormy, but you steer through. Aubrey nodded, the advice settling like ballast. Marjorie had never minced words about Clara. Her protectiveness a shield against class disdain. I know, Aubrey said. This trip's my compass. To see if we weather. The send-off included a care package, jars of fig preserves, a braided sweetgrass basket for collecting Northwest ghosts. As Aubrey hugged her goodbye, Marjorie slipped a note into her pocket. Roots bend, don't break. Come home changed, not severed. Back at the cabin, Clara helped load the pickup, the air crisp with salt and pine. Their goodbye unfolded in the truck bed, under a sky bruised with departing geese. Kisses tasted of tart anticipation, hands mapping familiar paths with renewed fervor. Write me everything, Clara murmured, forehead to Aubrey's. The rain, the voices, the you that blooms away from here. I will. And you'll hold the fort. Tell Evelyn I expect notes on my chapters. Clara's laugh was a lifeline, pulling Aubrey from the brink of doubt. As the Ford rumbled north on I-95, palmettos giving way to pine barrens, then to Virginia's rolling hills, the landscape mirrored her inner shift, familiar contours yielding to unknown vistas. Podcasts on Southern Lit kept her company, interspersed with Clara's texts. Miss you already. Mama made your cornbread recipe. Disaster. Smiling through fatigue, Aubrey felt the pull of expansion, the queer joy of claiming space. Portland greeted her with a drizzle that felt like mercy. The city's bridges arching over the Willamette like welcoming arms. The anthology team, diverse, vibrant, unscarred by Southern shame, immersed her in workshops buzzing with narratives of reclamation. Trans poets from the Midwest, by elders from San Francisco, young femmes weaving Afrofuturist tapestries. Her role as editor sharpened her voice, selections pouring from her like marsh spring. Stories of forbidden glances in Bible Belt diners, lovers defying border patrols. The city itself was a revelation. Rainbow crosswalks in the Pearl District, queer bars in Alberta arts where drag queens slayed with Appalachian twang. Aubrey wandered Powell's city of books, stacks towering like redwood cathedrals, losing hours to volumes on Carson McCullers and Audre Lorde. Nights she video-called Clara, the time difference a teasing veil, Clara in dawn light, recounting Evelyn's tentative overtures, like co-hosting a book club on the price of salt. But distance amplified fissures. A call from Harlan mid-December shattered the idyll. Town's heating up. Anonymous posts online, photos of you two at the market captioned ugly. Evelyn's fielding calls. She's holding but Clara's fraying. Aubrey's stomach knotted, the cozy loft suddenly claustrophobic. What kind? Threats. Worse, moralizing. Protect our daughters. Harlan's dad pulled strings. Sights down but damage lingers. Clara's follow-up call was strained, her face pale on screen. It's nothing new. Just louder. Mama suggested a cooling off. Time apart, publicly. Rage and hurt collided in Aubrey's chest. Cooling off? After everything? This is the scrutiny Evelyn promised. Clara's eyes welled. I know. But it's her way, control the narrative. Harlan and Beckett are coming out quietly at the New Year's gala. Cover for us, maybe. The suggestion stung. A regression to deception shed. No. We're done with covers. I'm booking a flight. Don't, Clara pleaded. Stay. Finish strong. This is our test, holding through the storm. The argument echoed their cabin clash, amplified by pixels and miles. Aubrey relented but sleep evaded her. The loft's exposed brick mocking her isolation. She channeled the turmoil into edits, selecting a piece on queer exile that mirrored her ache. A Southern Dyke's letter to her lover, penned from a Brooklyn fire escape. Distance isn't the thief, silence is. Thanksgiving arrived soggy, Aubrey joining the team's potluck in a warehouse space strung with lights. Vegan turkeys and stories swapped like recipes, but her mind drifted south, to Clara's table, Evelyn's wary toasts, the empty chair beside her love. A drunk dial to Marjorie yielded solace. Storms pass, girl. Ride it out. December deepened, Portland's lights twinkling like defiant stars. Aubrey submitted her editorial notes, the manuscript a testament to resilience. Whispers from Savannah ebbed, Harlan reporting the gala's success. Beckett and Harlan's arm-in-arm entrance met with raised eyebrows but no outright revolt, Evelyn's presence a silent endorsement. Clara's Christmas package arrived gift-wrapped. A leather-bound journal, inscribed for the stories between us, and a pressed magnolia petal, fragile as memory. Aubrey's return gift, a pendant of sea glass green as Ogeechee shallows, traveled south accompanied by a letter. Distance clarified. I choose the current always. New Year's Eve found her on a red-eye south, the plane slicing through cloud veils like a promise kept. Touchdown in Savannah's pre-dawn hush felt like homecoming, the air thick with jasmine and jet fuel. Clara waited at baggage claim, will coat over jeans, her embrace fierce, unyielding. They drove to the cabin in silence, hands clasped over the gearshift. Inside, the space welcomed them. Dusty but warm, the journal open on the desk to blank pages waiting. I finished, Aubrey whispered, pulling Clara close. Now we write the next chapter. Their reunion unfolded in the hearth's glow, a fire crackling against January's rare frost. Bodies rediscovered, conversations delved deeper. Clara's growth in Aubrey's absence, Evelyn's budding alliance with a book group on queer Southern authors. Harlan and Beckett, settled in a Bluffton cottage, sent photos of their first open holiday, faces alight with unburdened joy. But reconciliation brought reckonings. Evelyn hosted a formal dinner, the long table laden with low-country boil, silver gleaming under chandelier light. Toast skirted edges, Aubrey praised for her Yankee venture, Clara's hand in hers under the damask. Yet Evelyn's eyes held a challenge. Endurance, remember? Post-dinner, in the library's leather-scented hush, Evelyn pulled Aubrey aside. You've stirred her, Marsh girl. Good. But stir wisely. The town's watching. Aubrey nodded, the weight of witness settling. We will. Together. Spring unfurled tentative, dogwoods blushing the squares. Aubrey's anthology launched to acclaim, reviews hailing its authentic Southern queer chorus. Invitations followed, readings in Atlanta, panels in Charleston, Clara at her side, their partnership a quiet revolution. Yet a shadow lingered. The anonymous poisoner, unmasked as a jilted auxiliary member, her malice born of repressed envy. Evelyn's intervention, a discreet donation to a LGBTQ center, quelled the storm, a matriarch's pragmatism bending toward progress. Under the old oak, come April, they spread a blanket for Clara's birthday, Harlan and Beckett joining with wine and rye tales. Laughter echoed, bonds forging in the dappled light. As dusk fell, Clara leaned into Aubrey whispering, "This is the bridge. Us, all of us." Aubrey kissed her temple, the river's song affirming. Roots had bent, not broken, entwined now, stronger in their weave. Spring's thaw in Savannah carried the scent of azaleas and unearthed truths, the city's pulse quickening as Mardi Gras confetti lingered in gutters like festive scars. Aubrey's anthology success rippled outward, drawing her into a whirlwind of panels and signings that tested the fragile equilibrium she and Clara had forged. The launch party in Atlanta, a rooftop affair overlooking the Beltline, fairy lights strung against the skyline, marked a pinnacle. Queer Southern writers toasting amid skyline sprawl, Clara's arm looped through Aubrey's, her pride a visible aura. Evelyn even attended, perched elegantly at a high top, nursing a Sazerac while murmuring approvals to Carson McCullers' parallels in the prose. But acclaim amplified exposure, the town's gaze sharpening like a hawk on thermal. A profile in Garden and Gun, titled Lowcountry Lesbians, reclaiming the narrative, featured Aubrey and Clara, their cabin photo splashed across pages, the marsh backdrop romanticized but revealing. Fan mail poured in. Admirers from Macon, skeptics from Beaufort. Harlan texted a screenshot of a church bulletin insert. Modern Sodom? Pray for our sisters. Chin up, he added. Beckett's baking counter-propaganda pies. Clara laughed it off over breakfast, but Aubrey saw the strain. The way her shoulders tensed at voicemails from old sorority sisters, feigned cheer masking isolation. They're relics, Clara insisted, flipping pancakes. We outgrew their scripts. Yet the scripts lingered, internalized like humidity in bones. Aubrey's next commitment, A summer residency at the Vermont Studio Center loomed as both boon and burden. 4 weeks in the Green Mountains, honing a novel on queer kinship amid dairy farms and maple groves. Solo time, she pitched to Clara during a riverside walk, the Ogeechi's current mirroring her ambivalence. To write without distractions. Then home to you. Clara's nod was measured, fingers interlacing with Aubrey's on the path. I get it. Growth isn't linear. But Vermont feels like another pause. What if pauses become patterns? The question echoed their Portland rift, vulnerability cracking the surface. Aubrey pulled her to a halt under a willow, its branches veiling them like confessionals. Patterns of us building, not breaking. I'll call every night, send chapters hot off the press. And you lean on Harlan Beckett. Mama even. This is our ecosystem now. Clara's eyes searched hers, finding anchor. Promise you'll come back changed for the better, not away. The vow sealed with a kiss, salt-laced and fervent, the river witnessing their pact. Vermont enveloped Aubrey in emerald hush, the studio's clapboard cabins nestled among hills that rolled like quilted blankets. Mornings began with coffee on her porch, steam mingling with mist, as she delved into the novel. A tapestry of Savannah ghosts, women loving across class chasms, their desires woven with marsh myth. Afternoons brought workshops, voices from LA to Lagos sharing arcs of becoming. Evenings, bonfires where stories crackled like flames. Clara's calls were lifelines, her updates a bridge. Evelyn's book club delving into Ruby Fruit Jungle, Harlan and Beckett's adoption talks. Puppies first, then perhaps more. Mama's smitten with a rescue mutt, Clara reported one night, laughter bubbling. Says it's therapy for her empty nest. Aubrey shared drafts, Clara's feedback incisive. Deeper on the betrayal, make it ache like betrayal does. The distance honed their intimacy, conversations delving philosophical. Societal molds versus human fluidity, love as rebellion sans destruction. Mid-residency, a package arrived. Clara's embroidery, framed panels of sea glass motifs, threaded with quotes from Aubrey's stories. Roots in flight, the card read. Tears pricked. Aubrey hung them above her desk, talismans against homesickness. Back in Savannah by July's swelter, the reunion ignited like dry lightning. Clara met her at the airport, wildflowers in hand, their drive to the cabin a blur of caught breaths and roaming hands. The novel progressed in stolen hours, Clara reading aloud by the hearth, her voice infusing life into characters born of their shared scars. But equilibrium quivered under summer's heat. Evelyn proposed a family retreat to the Smokies, cabins, canoeing, a bid for reknitting. Aubrey hesitated, the invitation laced with subtext. Prove durability beyond spotlights. Clara advocated. It's her olive branch. We go show the weave holds. The Appalachians offered respite. Pine-scented air a counterpoint to coastal brine. Cabins clustered by a trout stream. Evenings around a fire pit where Harlan grilled trout, Beckett strummed guitar. Folk tunes laced with queer anthems. Evelyn, surprisingly, joined Esmeralda's assembly, her stories turning confessional. A gray-tance Boston marriage in the 1920s, whispered as spinsterhood but rich with unspoken depth. Hikes revealed layers, Clara and Aubrey scouting trails, hands brushing ferns, conversations circling futures. A joint reading tour, perhaps a home beyond the cabin, inclusive of kin. Adopt the whole mess, Clara joked of Harlan and Beckett. Queer polycule, Southern edition. Evelyn overheard one dusk, pausing mid-stir of cider. Polycule? Modern lingo for old sins. Her tone held curiosity, not condemnation. Later by the fire she pulled Aubrey aside. You've given her fire, not just warmth. I see it. But fire burns, tend it. The council, maternal in guise, bridged their chasm. Aubrey nodded. We will. For all of us. Return to Savannah brought harvest's bounty, but also thorns. The church bulletin poisoner faced quiet censure. Community service at the LGBTQ center. Her apology letter to Clara scrawled, "Forgive my blindness." More insidious. A developer's eye on Aubrey's marshland. Harlan's firm tasked with surveys. Preservation easement, he suggested over beers. Lock it communal. Clara championed the idea, rallying Evelyn's garden club for petitions. The fight galvanized them. Public meetings in town hall where Aubrey spoke. Voice steady. Marsh lore invoking ancestor stewardship. Victory came narrow, the land secured. A win etched in headlines. Local author saves heritage site. Fall deepened. Leaves carpeting squares in crimson. Aubrey's novel neared completion. Queries to agents buzzing. Clara, inspired, enrolled in a Vanderbilt extension course, creative writing, queer focus. Their evenings wove domesticity with ambition. Suppers of okra gumbo. Readings from drafts. Bodies entwining in affirmation. Yet a shadow crept. Harlan's call, voice grave. My father's ill. Pancreatic. Wants reconciliation. Legacy stuff. Beckett's turmoil followed, the couple navigating hospital vigils, Harlan torn between duty and authenticity. Clara confided fears. What if it pulls him back into the closet? Us next. Aubrey held her through the night, whispers of solidarity. We've built dikes against that tide. Hold the line. The crisis peaked at a Whitaker vigil. Evelyn attending in quiet support. Harlan's eulogy, post-passing, hinted at unspoken graces. He taught endurance. Now I choose living. The wake's aftermath saw Beckett and Harlan affirming rings. Commitment, not convention. Winter solstice brought circle under the oak. Families entwined, toasts to fractures mended. Aubrey and Clara exchanged vows unspoken, vows of witness, of wild hearts tamed only by choice. As snow dusted rare the lowcountry, Aubrey finished the novel, dedicating it to currents shared. The future stretched, not as horizon but hearth, human, flawed, luminous. Winter's rare kiss on Savannah melted into a tentative spring. The city's resurrection mirrored in the tentative bloom of lives long pruned by expectation. Aubrey's novel, Marshbound Hearts, found a home with a boutique press in Nashville. Its acquisition announced in trade rags that rippled to the New York Times indie lists. The deal brought modest advance, enough for cabin expansions, a writing loft, shared garden, but more validation. Queries from Hollywood scouts sniffing adaptation potential. Whispers of a southern queer epic akin to the night circus with grit. Clara celebrated with a surprise weekend in Charleston, booking a Harborview suite where they wandered Rainbow Row at dawn. Hands laced, the Battery's cannons silent witnesses to revolutions past. This is our row now, Clara murmured, tracing brick facades faded to blush. Over she-crab soup at Hyman's, she unveiled her own milestone. Acceptance to a low-residency MFA at Warren Wilson, balancing Savannah roots with Asheville's mountain muse. We'll commute, me to hills, you to desks. Nomads together. Aubrey's heart swelled, the vision of parallel paths a counter to isolation fears. Back home they broke ground on the garden. Raised beds for heirloom tomatoes, okra rows echoing Aubrey's childhood. Harlan and Beckett joined, tools in hand, their banter lightning labor. If this yields, we claim chef credits. Evelyn arrived with seedlings, her trowel work precise, commentary laced with approbation. Growth requires soil turned, secrets aired. The press tour commenced in May, Aubrey jetting to Austin for South by Southwest lit panels, Clara tagging for the Texas leg, boots and Stetsons clashing delightfully with sundresses. Stages buzzed with questions. How does place shape queer survival? Aubrey drew from Marrow. Savannah's a lover and jailer. Beauty that binds, forcing you to chisel freedom from magnolia bark. Clara's interjections grounded her. Anecdotes of Evelyn's book club evolutions drawing laughs. Midtour in a Denver bookstore dim with incense, a heckler rose, bearded, Bible thumping. This glorifies sin. Repent. Security ushered him out, but the tremor lingered. Aubrey's post-reading talk veering confessional. Backstage, Clara enveloped her. Our story's not sin, it's scripture for the silenced. Harlan's update tempered triumph. His firm's pivot to eco-developments, championing queer-led initiatives. Dad's legacy redeemed, he said over video. Beckett, pursuing therapy certification, joked of group sessions. Beaumont's anonymous, hi, I'm fractured. Evelyn's transformation deepened. She volunteered at the center, cataloging donations with a volunteer named Theo. A wiry widow with a dry wit and shared love for Faulkner. Companionable, she termed it, blushing faintly. Aubrey teased Clara. Mama's got a polycule starter kit. Summer sweltered, the cabin a haven of industry. Aubrey revised under ceiling fans, Clara drafting thesis on Southern Gothic queerness. Afternoons they kayaked the Ogeechee, spotting otters like omens of play. Intimacy evolved, less frantic, more ritual. Slow dances to Coltrane on the porch, explorations by candlelight that charted emotional deltas. But equilibrium invited tests. A film option offer arrived, option on Marshbound, with a producer eyeing Ta-Nehisi Coates for script consult. Excitement crested, then crashed. The deal demanded relocation to LA for development immersion. 6 months minimum. Aubrey shared it over dinner, paella steaming, her voice tentative. It's a door. But not ours unless. Clara's fork stilled. Eyes reflecting candle flicker. LA lights but lonely. We'd Bridget Miemphan remotely visits. But uprooting? After Portland, Vermont. The debate spanned days, walks under oaks dissecting dreams versus digs. Clara confessed envy of Aubrey's ascent, her own path feeling shadowed. Don't eclipse me, she whispered one night, vulnerability raw. Aubrey held her, countering. Eclipse? We're constellations. This lifts us both, or neither. They negotiated. Counter the offer for remote collab, cap at 3 months. The producer balked, but Aubrey held firm, channeling Evelyn's endurance. Concession came. Hybrid model, Savannah base with LA sprints. Fall's equinox brought harvest, Marshbound galleys arriving, Clara's first workshop piece praised. A joint reading at the Savannah Book Festival drew crowds, the square alive with lanterns, their voices intertwining like vines. Evelyn emceed, her intro poignant. These women remind us. Love's not ledger, it's ledger-defying. Post-reading under Forsyth's Oaks, Harlan and Beckett proposed a toast. Champagne flutes raised to found family. Whispers of their wedding plans, small beachside inclusive, stirred Aubrey's own musings. Later, by the cabin fire, she broached it to Clara. Not now, but soon. Vows our way. Clara's eyes glistened. Yes. Moss-wrapped, river-blessed. Winter whispered in frost-etching windows. Aubrey's elistint began. The city's sprawl, a vertigo of palms and promises. Hotel suites overlooked canyons, meetings with execs buzzing with vision. Gritty, like moonlight meets fried green tomatoes. Clara visited, their nights reclaiming Hollywood's gloss, rooftop dinners, Griffith Observatory stars mocking distance. Back south by January, the novel published to acclaim. Starred Kirkus, Oprah-adjacent buzz. Launch party at the cabin swelled with kin. Marjorie toasting with moonshine, Evelyn reciting passages, Harlan and Beckett DJing bluegrass remixes. Yet Pinnacle invited precipice. A tabloid snippet, misquoted panel quip twisted to Southern queers' hate tradition, ignited backlash. Protests at signings, eggs at the cabin gate. Evelyn fielded press, her statement fierce. Tradition evolves. These women embody it. Clara's MFA cohort rallied, virtual support flooding. Aubrey channeled rage into essays, Marshbound sales surging defiantly. Spring's renewal crested at Harlan and Beckett's wedding. Tybee Dunes, waves crashing chorus. Aubrey officiated, words drawn from novel. Love defies tides, claims its shore. Clara, maid of honor, caught Aubrey's eye mid-vows, silent promise exchanged. Post-ceremony under driftwood arches, Evelyn pulled them aside. I've deeded the river house. Yours. Build on it. The gift, a plot of Beaumont soil, sealed lineages. That night, cabin revelry spilled to dawn. Dances, declarations, dreams voiced. Summer found them groundbreaking anew. Tiny home on Riverland, eco-build with Harlan's specs. Aubrey's sequel brewed. Clara's thesis flowered into chapbook. Under the old oak come solstice they wed, small circle moss veils river o's. I choose you, Aubrey vowed, current and calm. Clara's reply. And I the weave. The town watched, some with awe, others aside. But in their hearth, human scarred radiant, they found the deepest south. Not chains but chosen earth. In the years following, the cabin expanded to homestead. Stories birthed in tandem. Evelyn found companionship with Theo, Harlan and Beckett parented fosters, Marjorie visited with grandtales. Society shifted slow, centers funded, whispers to welcomes. Aubrey and Clara, Anchors entwined, navigated storms with seasoned grace. Their love, once forbidden fruit, ripened to legacy. Proof that in defying molds one forges gold.